Hi, so I live in Nashville, Tennessee, so I was wanting to show you, like, from my perspective, the reason why that the statistics for highway travel are so much of an outlier compared to every other city in America. So first of all, we've got I-65 going north-southbound this way, I-40 west-eastbound this way, and then also 24, which is kind of like south or northwest, southeast, but it is westbound and eastbound this way. So first of all, the first like actual beside 24 was built later on, and you can tell right here it was kind of added on to 65 later. This is a huge bottleneck in traffic because if you want to stay on 24, you have to merge like 4 lanes within half a mile. So, I mean, that's just bad traffic, but that's just a regular observation. But this right here used to be called 165. But then when they built 24, they renamed it to just regular 65 and then rerouted this side is I-24 around the downtown loop. So the first interstate, besides that, there's also Ellington Parkway right here, which is not a highway, but it is like, the grade separated interchange. But the first one that was actually like for real built was Brawley Parkway. Brawley Parkway went from I-65 right here to the Ellington Parkway and went across here to Opryland. And then there's several lanes right here. There used to be an amusement park, but now it's just a mall, but there are several lanes. And then it would go down here to I-40. And then it separates right here down to I-24. There's an interchange right here, but besides that, it's just stoplights, which I don't understand for the life of me why they did that. Now, this side was added on later on, but I'll get to that in a minute. But this is grade separated interchange on the other half of Bradley Parkway, which is grade separated interchange until it reaches I-40. So Bradley Parkway goes all the way around the city as like just a complete highway in around the northern half of I-40. Now this side is, like I said, it's kind of, I mean, it's kind of like an interstate, but not really. But like, so this whole loop, it's like, it makes a square around Nashville. And already, the size of this highway loop is significantly smaller than any other city. Like, if you compare this, I don't even think, like, I can't remember what it was, but there was a comparison for the size of Brawley Parkway and the rest of the Nashville loop compared to like another city, and it matched up with like, I think it was like Dayton, Ohio or something. Nashville is quite a bit bigger than Dayton, Ohio. And I know at least the Atlanta loop is it's 6 times bigger than the Nashville loop, even though it's only got 3 times the population in the Atlanta area. But a lot of this has to do with the ridge right here. This is, as you can tell, it's like a different color, but it's very hilly and you really can't build in it. This part of Bradley Parkway was cut through it. There's like a giant like cliff on it as well. But because of that, most of Nashville's population is centered around this side of the ridge. Now there's also, the ridge kind of goes all the way around Middle Tennessee, but this is called the Nashville Basin, even though Nashville is just in like a little tiny corner of it. But it's much more sparsely populated out here. And the city is just here fairly close. Half of Davidson County city limits, I'm sorry, you don't even know what that is. Davidson County, Nashville, they combine their county and their city into one government, and half of it is up here. It's called Jolton, like literally half the city, a third of the city even. And it's just, I mean, nobody lives up here because it's so hilly. You can't put sewers or anything. So for this reason, that's why most of the population is centered on this side and why most of the interstates are like that, which I'll explain in a second. But then they built I-440, which they cut through these neighborhoods right here to connect the southern portion of I-40 to the other side of I-40. Obviously, you can go 65 and then go around that to get to the other side of 65. But this is just a bad interstate. It's very congested. It's so close to the city that, I mean, it just serves as an alternative for the downtown loop because the traffic is there's just like hardly any lanes here, and there is more lanes on this. It's just so close, it doesn't serve as much of a purpose for the suburbs or anything relating to that. So yeah, there's a lot of traffic out here, and a lot of people live in the suburbs and commute to the city. And for whatever reason, Also, Nashville has one of the highest like numbers of people commuting suburb to suburb. So like someone who lives in this suburb of Gallatin up here will sometimes commute to Murfreesboro down here. I'm sorry, you couldn't even see that. Or someone who lives in Franklin will commute to probably Mount Juliet. And they're just for like unskilled labor jobs, like just service jobs. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said unskilled labor. Service jobs. And I don't understand why they do it like that, but it's just the way the Nashville job market is, which makes the numbers a lot more of an outlier compared to everywhere else as well. But you're probably thinking like there makes a whole square around the city, and this right here, Thompson Lane and Woodmont Boulevard, they're literally like 2 lanes right here. So I don't know why they decided to build it like that, and then they just built 440 going through the neighborhoods here instead of just continuing this. And I think it's because it cuts through a richer neighborhood, but this is also a richer neighborhood here. It was just very poor planning by the city, and it makes this a lot more complicated than it should be. And then again, the loop is already very small in general, so that leads to Nashville traffic. So what they decided to do is they decided to build a new interstate, or they were going to build a third. I guess if you count the downtown loop as one loop, and then you've got the 440 Bradley Parkway loop as the second loop, they decided to build a third loop, and that was going to be 840. And this is where most of the problems come in. So for whatever reason, they decided to build it all the way out here. Like this is very far away from everything. And the reason that they did this is because of the ridge, first of all, right here. So the whole point was that they were going to build 840 around the entire city. So or not the city, but like across a very large portion of Middle Tennessee, across the entire metro Nashville area. But they never did finish the second half because they said it wouldn't serve much of a purpose because there's so much population on this side and not that much on this side. But it kind of defeated the purpose of them even building it so large, because they spent all the resources and all that to build basically around the ridge. So the reason that it even goes because out here it makes sense because there is population, even though it would make a lot more sense to be closer to Nashville. It does make some sense because there's so much spread out population within the suburbs of Spring Hill, which you can see they have their own little parkway here. It's called Saturn Parkway because of the Saturn car plant. And then you've got Franklin out here, and then Murfreesboro entirely outside the loop. So, and they're trying to kind of build up Lebanon as a larger area, like a larger suburb, but it's not really going as they plan. But that's the reason why they kind of built it so far out, because of the suburb of Murfreesboro. But what they could have done, which would have made a lot more sense, is they could have rerouted the highway from Murfreesboro right here, I-24, and then routed it through kind of Nolensville, which is it's like a medium-sized suburb, and then routed it through right down here. You see this? This is the Harpeth Valley. They could have rerouted it here, and this is Nashville city limits right here. They could have routed it through here and made the loop so much smaller and more efficient. And if they did that, they would not have all of these unnecessary, just far away interstate miles that nobody travels, because people traveling through Nashville will always just go through the city, adding to traffic, rather than taking the 840 loop if they're trying to get to the other side of I-40, because it's so large. It's unnecessarily large, and no one even lives out here because they tried to build it around the ridge so that they could continue building the second half around the ridge. So I feel like they really should build the second half of it, because it's just so like in vain that you even built this without building the second half. But what they're trying to do right now, as you can see, this side, all the population lives here. So they have right here, they have Vietnam Veterans Parkway and Hendersonville Gallatin suburbs, and they're upgrading Interstate 109 to interstate standards from I-65 here. So it's not perfect, but there is several grade separated interchanges on the State Route 109 all the way down to 840. So if they did make a few improvements, it could be an entire unbroken loop from I-40 right here all the way to I-65 on this side. I even have a plan for it right here I drew up, And the yellow would be where it would go. This has like the property addresses of all the people who live there and everything, of like how you would even go about building this, because I think it would really improve Nashville traffic, but it would branch off of 109. But their original plan was going to have the interstate, I wish I pulled it up, but it was going to have the interstate come, the other half of 840 north was going to come out from Lebanon right here. If you can't see, that's Lebanon. And then it was going to go on the outside and then connect back up here and make an unbroken loop at 840. And it would have like broken the ring around Lebanon. But that's just ridiculously large for not a huge population. So they obviously did not do that because it would be very expensive and in vain. And this was also very expensive and kind of in vain too, because Franklin is just a very large population. Nolensville is fairly large, Brentwood. All these places just have very large populations compared to the outside of the loop. And it would have made so much more sense to build it closer, but we can talk about that all day about why they would or why they shouldn't have done this. But I mean, the thing is, it's done now, and the only thing they can do now, I've looked, if they wanted to really improve Nashville traffic, they would have to build, this is 840, this is 440 right here, they would have to build like a 640. And the time has passed for them to build one through the Harpeth River Valley, which I said right here, which would go through Franklin and Smyrna and Brentwood and Nolensville and all these, I mean, pretty large suburbs, because I mean, even inside the loop, there's so much of this that's just undeveloped, but up here it's almost completely developed. But this right here is Nashville city limits because it's so large. But what they would have to do is they would have to basically upgrade a road to being that. Now this right here is Old Hickory Boulevard. It goes all the way around the city. It starts here, it breaks off here. There used to be a ferry that would go to this side, and then it goes through the hills right here, and then it comes back out here. It's just a regular road, but it's a very old ring road that went around the entire city. Most of it was flooded, not most of this road, but most of the road in this area was flooded out when they dammed up the Percy Priest Lake. And it comes back out, where does it come back out? Somewhere around here. And then this is Old Hickory Boulevard again. But it goes around the entire, there it is again, Bell Road comes here. But it goes around the entire city, and what they should have done when they first started building the ring road, instead of building any of this, it would have made a lot more sense for them to just upgrade this to interstate standards, but they decided not to. But for the southern loop is where most of the traffic is having issues, so what they could do is, this is already 3 lanes through a lot of this, if they would just upgrade it to interstate standards and people would start taking this as an alternative to I-440, then it would improve a lot of traffic, because nobody's taking that 840 out here because the population is just not that far out. So it's just very, very worthless. Another way they could fix it is probably charging fees for people to use that, or what is it? They could start taxing trucks to go on I-40 and kind of force them to go 840, but that's pretty out there with tolls and all that, especially when it's a interstate. So I don't think that's feasible. But an interstate going from, I have it drawn up, I'll text it in a second because I kind of didn't pull it up before the video, but yeah, going through here would really improve traffic. But yeah, it's kind of done now, but yeah, I think that's everything. I just wanted to explain really the reason why Nashville, the statistics are so janked up is because of 840 being built this far out from anything else, and the fact that the roads in Nashville are just very poorly planned and are just very small compared to other sides. But yeah, I didn't even say earlier, this side, it was built quite a bit later on Briley Parkway, but it almost did not get built, but luckily it did. But it's not even heavily traveled either. It's just, whoever planned this, I guess TDOT, just did not put a lot of thought into it, and if they built it a lot closer, they would have solved a lot of problems. But as this is one of the very few examples of them even trying to build something this far out, so they really did try something new to try to improve traffic compared to other large cities, and I think it very well failed. But yeah, that's what happens when you're the first one to try something. But yeah, I just wanted to show you that, so thank you.